Welcome to Payoff Pitch Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast. I'm Collin Whitchurch, joined by Sean Zerillo to look at the Wednesday MLB postseason slate. It is a huge day today. It is our last day of the season with more than 2 games. It'll be 2 or 1 games rest of October from here on out. But the Yankees, well, they didn't help us out yesterday from a betting perspective. They helped us have a fun Wednesday with that crazy come-from-behind win over the Blue Jays. Mariners took a 2-1 series lead over the Tigers in dominant fashion. Logan Gilbert looked great in that one. So we have 4 games today. All 4 series could come to an end. We could have no baseball on Thursday and Friday. As a reminder, we will have episodes of Payoff Pitch if there are games. So if the Brewers and Dodgers both win today, no episode tomorrow. If they win, we will have more content for you Friday. Same thing with the AL. If we get some series wrapped up, maybe we'd get some LCS previews in at the end of the week. We'll see. It's all up in the air based on the results of these games, but we will roll through them. Podcast off to a good October so far. Just a quick little recap. We're 36-18-1 in our picks, plus 15.2 units. So we'll try to keep that momentum rolling. Of course, every time we mention the record is usually when we have a bad day. So hopefully, knock on wood, that doesn't happen here. Let's jump in to the first game of the day. Mariners-Tigers. Again, Mariners trying to wrap it up. Detroit trying to send the series back to Seattle. Casey Mize on the mound for Detroit. Bryce Miller for Seattle. Tigers, slight favorites, minus 115. Mariners, minus 106. We got a total of 8.5. I feel like that's about the highest total we've had. Definitely in that series. One of the higher ones of the playoffs. Sean, what you got in this one?
Yeah, it is the highest total so far of the playoffs. We haven't seen another 8.5. We actually have 2 8.5s today between the Jays and the Yankees as well. So some run scoring expected, maybe a grand salami over today. Could potentially be a bunch of runs, and then even Brewers Cubs. Well, Brewers Cubs like the under. We'll get to the NL games where I do like the unders, but yeah, I could see some explosive AL scoring today. Now Mariners Tigers. I make Seattle right around a coin flip. I make both of the final 2 games in this series. Seattle will be around a coin flip. They'll be slight home favorites for me at home in Game 5 if they're facing Tarek Skubal at home with George Kirby. Their bullpen, actually, both of these bullpens are pretty overworked. The Mariners in particular, Munoz, Brash, and Bizzardo each pitched games 1 through 3 of this series. Detroit has had Herter in all 3, but dating back to the wild card round, Conley, Holton, and Finnegan have each pitched 3 of the past 6 days. So key relievers, high leverage relievers on both sides, relatively tired. It leads me to believe, even though this is an elimination game for the Tigers and is a game 4, that both managers kind of need length from their starting pitchers. They just do not have the arms to get through 9 innings if they're going to yank these guys in the 3rd. Now, his last start, Casey Mize, I know a lot of people bet over 15.5 outs or 14.5 outs. I gave out the under 14.5 outs, and he was cruising until I believe he gave up 1 hit and then got pulled. Same hook, very similar at least as what Matt Boyd had with Craig Counsell, where was cruising, but the moment he ran into danger, he got yanked. I don't necessarily think they could do that tonight. I don't see them getting through 9 innings, especially yesterday with their bullpen giving up runs. I don't see them giving up or getting through 6 innings of relief here tonight. Even 5 is going to be pushing it. So I do expect Mize to pitch into the 4th inning. His outs prop tonight is 9.5. I think that's just too low. I took plus money on the over, but if he is going to pitch 9.5 outs, 3.5 strikeouts is too high. So over 9.5 outs and under 3.5 strikeouts on Casey Mize, a little bit of reverse correlation. I think you could maybe pair those together and see what kind of price you can get, considering they are negatively correlated. The other end, Bryce Miller over 3.5 strikeouts. We discussed the good matchup for Logan Gilbert yesterday. You look at the season-long numbers for Bryce Miller, they're pretty scary, but you take his numbers after he came back from the IL in August and September, and it's much more alignment with what you would expect. After the IL stint, 4.06 expected FIP for Miller, 104 stuff plus, 102 pitching plus, 3.9 body array. Before the injury, everything was closer to 5.17 expected FIP, 4.4 body array. Strikeout minus walk went up 3.5%. Velocity went back up half a tick after coming back off of the IL. So I do think Bryce Miller, his effectiveness is much closer to his career metrics than it is to his 2025 season metrics. He pitched much more in line with his season metric or his career metrics after coming back from the IL. We discussed the big difference in terms of strikeout rate, T-Mobile versus Comerica. We discussed the fact that these Seattle bats do travel pretty well, but still Mize overs, and then overs for both pitchers, Bryce Miller over and Mize over. The one caution I would give is regarding Miller's outs prop. I do think 12.5 is probably on the nose. 11.5, 12.5 does seem like it's just about right for him tonight. Even though the Mariners' high leverage guys have all been used on 3 consecutive days, I think that's about the tipping point where Dan Wilson starts to decide whether to take him out. So I'd go over 11.5, under 12.5. I'm probably not interested in either. I'd rather have the over 3.5 strikeouts on Miller. It's my favorite prop for today against the lineup that rates in the bottom 3 for strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. Bryce Miller over 3.5 strikeouts, up to around minus 140. My favorite prop among the 12 or so props I'm about to give out on this show.
Yeah, a lot of props coming from me as well, which we're about to get into. I will say that Tigers bullpen, they are overworked, like you said. AJ Hinch made a very clear point when that game got a little out of hand last night to not go to some of his key guys. So Will Vest hasn't pitched since Saturday. Kyle Finnegan since Sunday. Tyler Holton since Saturday as well. And Rafael Montero since Saturday. So those are going to be the 4 guys that he's going to lean on big time.
I should also mention live over here as well.
Yes.
If it drops to 7, after a couple of scoreless innings, I think there's more scoring late like there was last night.
I also really like the Tigers lineup against Bryce Miller, just from like a pitch by pitch perspective. Digging in last night, that'll get into my props. Miller throws his fastball about half the time. Behind that, it's a splitter and it's a sinker. We have 2 sinker ballers on the mound in this, 2 splitters pitchers on the mound in this game, in fact. And the Tigers lineup being incredibly left-handed, obviously Miller's splits against lefties are not good at all. And if you look at just from a pitch by pitch perspective, of the 9 projected Tigers hitters, every single one of them grades out above average against either the 4-seamer, splitter, or sinker, or some combination of those 3, except for Javi Baez, who's going to be batting 9th in the lineup. So, but the guy who stands out the most out of all of those top 8 is Gleyber Torres. Grades out above average against all 3 of Bryce Miller's top 3 offerings, the 4-seamer, splitter, and sinker. So I'm going to be splitting, small unit sizes on a couple of these hitter props today because they're all plus money, obviously. So Torres, his 2+ bases at plus 145, and then Gleyber Torres, not a power hitter, but to go deep at plus 750, I like as well. On the Mariners side, Julio Rodriguez is the guy who really stands out here. He's the guy who stands out in the Mariners lineup most of the time. Not a shock. But Casey Mize, he's a 4-seamer splitter guy. He throws 5 pitches more than 10% of the time, but 4-seamer splitter are the real standout pitches, and J-Rod grades out above average in both of those. A couple others that I kept an eye on was Josh Naylor, the 4-seamer, slurve, and sinker, and then Eugenio Suarez against the splitter and slider are really positive outcomes. But J-Rod's the guy I'm going to focus on here. We are getting a pretty nice price on his homer prop relative to his talent, plus 500 on Julio to go deep, plus 112 to have him over 1.5 total bases. So those are the 2 hitter props I'm targeting today. In terms of a same game parlay for this one, I think Julio bases is our safest one from a hitter perspective. Sean, if you want to throw in, you said Miller over strikeouts, Miller over 3.5 strikeouts, and then which one of the Mize ones would you recommend?
Let's go out.
Outs under
over out. Outs over.
Oh, outs over. Yeah, sorry. Outs over. Okay, so that grades out about plus 485 on DraftKings if you are looking for a same game parlay in.
I'm rocking the Julio shirt today, so I think that's the one we're going with automatically.
Yes,
but,
absolutely.
We'll see what we got for the rest of the show.
Yeah, and we've got some more parlays too. I kind of looked around at these and I was like, let's get some more. Let's get some like. There's no such thing as a safe parlay, but let's some safe-ish parlays, and then we've got some crazy long shots later. Let's wait till we get to Dodgers Phillies. We're gonna have some fun with that. But let's move on to Brewers Cubs Game 3. Again, Brewers trying to close things out here at Wrigley. Jameson Taillon against Quinn Priester. What a funny pitching matchup that is of post type and post type top prospects. The Cubs are favored here, minus 122 back home behind Taillon. Brewers plus 101. 6.5, really low total here at Wrigley today. I just took my dog out right before this episode, again, a few miles from Wrigley, and it's cold and gross and windy out there. So, Sean, I imagine anytime there's a 6.5 total, I'm going to be curious what you're doing on a total here.
Yeah, it was 7. Open 7 minus 120. It got bet down to 6.5. So clearly I'm not the only one who liked the under. It is a little bit obviously sketchier to bet it at 6.5 as opposed to 7, because once the game gets to 3-3, you lose. So you could wait for a live under 7 or 7.5. I am okay though with the 6.5 to minus 110 because I make this right around 6. Now, obviously there's been a ton of scoring through the first 2 games of this series, but the bullpens have done exactly what they're supposed to do, because after the second inning combined in these games, there's been 6 total runs across the final 14 innings of games 1 and 2. There were 16 combined, I believe, over the first 2 innings. If Andrew Vaughn's first inning homer falls into a glove, right, in left field instead of clearing the fence, that game goes under. If PCA is 20 feet taller and is able to rob that home run that he jumped for, one of the best efforts I've ever seen attempting to rob a home run. Just credit to PCA. Yeah. That was beautiful. But if he was Yao Ming's height, maybe that game ends up going under. So, no, you could say all the maybes. You could say all the ifs. You could say all the buts. We did project the pitching usage correct for that game. Ashby ended up facing 10-plus hitters. He just sucked. He was 1 strikeout away. The umpire also robbed him. There was a pitch that should have been called a strike that was not, that ended up turning into a walk, and he ended up getting him.
And he faced 2 more batters at 5 outs. Like, he gave up a couple hits, and it's like, when he gave up that first hit, I was like, okay, Murphy's going to pull him here. And then he let him face another batter. I was like, he kind of gave us some extra lives, but he just couldn't get to the finish line. It was so frustrating.
I know. Yeah, it sucks when you get the usage right and you're like, he's going to turn over the lineup all the way. He threw 50-plus pitches. He just wasn't effective. Yeah. And if he was effective, he might have stayed in that game for 3 or 4 innings.
It's one of those things where you'd go back to the well. Same situation again, 5.5 outs. It's like right size, wrong shape,
Absolutely. And the total in that game did move down from 8 to 7.5. So this total moved down from 7 to 6.5. That moved down from 8 to 7.5. It takes a lot more money to move off of 7 than it does to move off of 8. 7 is obviously much more of a key number than 8 is. But that said, I do think the under is the right side again. I think people are probably scared to bet the under, and probably the public is piling on the over, considering how easy it has been to cash these tickets in the first 2 games. I do like the under tonight, though. These bullpens remain top 10 bullpens. These are still 2 of the best defensive teams in my model. But then I also like the over on pitching usage. If this is a total that is low, it means the pitchers are probably doing well, which means that they probably end up staying in the game a little bit longer than you think. Taillon actually had a decently long leash in the wild card round, 60 pitches. They let him get through 12 outs. His props are 10.5 outs and 2.5 strikeouts tonight. I'd prefer the over on the strikeouts as opposed to the outs. Our Action Labs projection also puts him around 3.5 strikeouts tonight. That's roughly where I'd put him if he's going to face, the odds say he's going to face around 14 batters. I think it's closer to 18, but even at 14 batters or so, he should still generate about 3.5 strikeouts based upon his strikeout rate. So over 2.5 strikeouts for Taillon, but then also over 10.5 outs as well. Outs to minus 125, strikeouts to minus 140. And Quinn Priester as well. Brewers are up 2-0 in this series, and they're coming off of a bullpen game. There's no emergency to get Quinn Priester out of this game, especially when you have another game tomorrow. So they would probably want to save their bullpen a little bit, up 2-0. If this were 1-1, a much more aggressive leash. But 2-0, you can let Quinn Priester go a little bit longer. He was really solid for them this year. I believe they also had that streak where they won like 19 consecutive games that he started or whatever it was. So ideally, I think they want him to get through 5. They would love to get him a win and to add to that tally this year and continue to make it look like one of the best trades they've ever made as an organization. Because I think they just sent like a comp pick to the Red Sox, right? They didn't even give up a player as of yet. So, yeah, good deal for the Brewers. But Priester over tonight, 12.5 outs at plus money, any plus money price, and over 3.5 strikeouts to minus 125, in addition to the under 7 down to 6.5 at minus 110.
It was 2 players, actually. Of course, you always are going to make.
Oh, they did give up guys. Okay.
And a draft pick. Ferry Rodriguez, a 19-year-old outfielder, and John Holobetz, a 5th-round pick out of Old Dominion last year. He was a 23-year-old right-handed pitcher.
I think the Red Sox traded a comp pick to the Pirates for him. That's probably what I remember.
Yeah, and there was a draft pick in that deal as well. So, but anyway, Priester, one of the craziest stories. You do wonder a little bit.
One of the best trades of the year.
Huh? Yeah, absolutely.
One of the best trades of the year.
You do wonder a little bit about if, we think that they'll have a longer leash, save the bullets for a potential game 4, but we have seen managers, and I don't really know what Murphy's going to do in this situation, kind of treat these elimination games almost like they're on the other side of it. Just to, you want the extra rest, you want to be able to save those bullets. So it's like, if it's close late, or if say it's the 4th or 5th inning and it's like a key spot, he said, we want to step on their neck right now and we want to get out of here. Sure. We don't want to have to deal with a game 4 or 5. So that would be my only.
Absolutely. You also don't want to pitch Freddie Peralta in game 4.
Exactly.
Not have him for game 1 of the NLCS. So that is a big deal too, is keeping Peralta set up. I didn't mention it before we get to your bets for this game. With that in mind, Brewers to win 3-1, I make plus 270. It's essentially parlaying the Cubs to win game 3, Brewers to win game 4. Peralta will be on full rest for them in game 4. Who the hell is starting for the Cubs in game 4? Matt Boyd again?
Yeah.
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. So Brewers to win the series 3-1, plus 320. I make that plus 270. Good with that down to about 3-1. I took plus 320 last night. I just think that's a pretty solid bet considering Cubs 50-50 today, but the Brewers I'll make pretty substantial favorites in game 4.
They probably go with, if not also Boyd, some combination of the 3 guys who relieved Boyd in game 1.
Yep.
And because they're all starters, right? Aaron Savali, Mike Soroka, Ben Brown. Just Counsell just tries his best to mix and match his way between those guys.
You can't start Boyd again.
Yeah, but regardless of who, we just named 4 names, regardless of who it is and how they're utilized, they're still going against Freddie Peralta, and that's still a significant disadvantage.
Absolutely.
I have a couple of hitter props again that match up well here. Again, with the wind blowing in, our Kevin Roth, Roto Grinders, wind blowing in from center at 10 miles an hour, temps in the upper 50s. It's amazing pitching weather. So a couple homer props. These are really, really small bets. These are just projections based off of, again, pitch usage and how these hitters fare. 2 Cubs, 2 Brewers on this one. I have Seiya Suzuki. That's probably the one real earnest power threat in this one, and Dansby Swanson being the other one on the Cubs side. They're both guys who rate out positively against 2 of Priester's top 3 pitches. Priester, obviously a big sinker baller, so he keeps the ball on the ground a lot as well, but they both hit sinkers and cutters extremely well. So I have them, again, the homers and the plus 2 bases. Suzuki plus 650 for the homer and plus 170 for the bases. Dansby Swanson plus 1,000 for the home run, plus 210 for the bases. The Brewers side gets even more hilarious. These are the longest of long shots. Sprinkle, couch change. The guys who grade out well, Bryce Terang, Joey Ortiz, their number 9 hitter there. Tyone, again, he throws 6 pitches, essentially 5 pitches more than 10% of the time. But the 4-seamer and then the sweeper and the cutter, we're looking at 4-seamer and cutter success specifically. These are fastball hitters, essentially. And Terang hits well against the 4-seamers and cutters. That's his first and third most used pitches. And then Ortiz, it's the 4-seamer, cutter, and curveball. So that's 3 of his top 4 pitches. I cannot, in good conscience, recommend you bet on Joey Ortiz and specifically to hit a home run. I'm dabbling a tenth of a unit. Terang plus 930 for a home run, plus 175 for the total bases, and Ortiz 15-1 to go deep, and plus 325 for 2+ bases. We hit a couple last week. Bo Naylor. These bottom of the order guys can come through on occasion. We've seen it. The Brewers, literally anyone can come through on any given night. The homers are going to be a lot more questionable today, but the total bases, that kind of correlates with what I was looking at for a same game parlay. You let me know what you think, Sean. Under 6.5, gotta lock that in there. Tyone over 2.5 strikeouts, gotta lock that in there. We're gonna stay away from the home runs though. And with the wind blowing in, knocking down these fly balls, we go with a line drive, ground ball, speedy hitter. We go with Terang in there at 2+ bases. That gets us plus 950 at DraftKings. So a little bit of offense in Terang, but then Tyone strikeouts, full game under, plus 950 there with Terang.
I didn't even cite the wind and weather systems for today. 62 degrees at first pitch. You said it may even be a little bit cooler. 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. This triggered 2 different Action Lab systems for wind and weather, and then another system for contrarian unders as well. As I said, this was very likely going to be a contrarian spot. Lifetime, our pro wind blowing in system from Action Labs at Wrigley specifically, 59.2% to the under, which is phenomenal. 148, 102, and 19, a 13.5% ROI just betting those every single game. So definitely some strong wind and weather historics on top of my ballpark adjustment, which should knock this down from, what would I make this on a weather neutral day? I'm actually just curious. I want to see how much the wind is impacting this. This will take me literally half a second. On a weather neutral day at Wrigley, I'd make this closer to 8.1. Today, I make it about 6.1.
Yeah. For those not familiar with Chicago or who haven't been here, when it's cold and the wind's blowing in from Lake Michigan, that close by, it's not just the wind blowing in. Obviously, the wind has a huge effect on it, but also high 50s, low 60s, that close to the lake is colder than you would think. So it could get nasty there. A lot of similar to what we saw in Detroit last night with that rain delay.
Usually when these games blow up too, it's a lot of walks.
Mm-hmm.
It's mistakes being made. These are teams who shouldn't make defensive mistakes. These aren't pitchers who should be walking the ballpark. Both guys have pretty good command. So it's not, I'm cited all the time, but it's a start that I recall very vividly because it was like some of the best underweather I ever remember at Wrigley, but Randy Vasquez was starting for the Padres and he just couldn't stop walking.
Yeah.
And it was like, I got COV on it. It was absolutely like the right side, quote unquote, save for the fact that the type of pitcher in that matchup was not the guy who's going to benefit from the weather because he doesn't allow the ball in play to begin with. So yeah, these are guys who allow the ball in play, and the weather should, in theory, actually help them a bunch.
Yep. Before we move on, don't forget to sign up for Action Pro for real-time pick alerts from experts like Sean Zerillo and our entire Action Network team. Plus, you can access our pro projections powered by Sean Kerner and our predictive analytics team. All you have to do is go to actionnetwork.com/pro and get $20 off the annual price with the promo code PAYOFF20. So don't miss out on the best bets at the best prices. Visit actionnetwork.com/pro. Use promo code PAYOFF20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro. All right, let's move on to Game 3 between the Blue Jays and Yankees. Sure didn't seem like we were getting to Game 3, but here we are with Aaron Judge's giant towering home run clanging off the foul pole last night and the Yankees pulling away at the end. I think they said on the broadcast last night, even like throughout so much of his postseason career, that fly ball by Judge just goes a couple inches to the left, foul, but it hit there, cost us some money, but does get us some more baseball. Cam Schlitter on the mound for the Yankees tonight after his absolutely dominant performance against the Red Sox in the wild card round. Blue Jays, it's a bullpen day, essentially. They're listing Louis Varland as their starting pitcher. I suspect we'll see a lot of Eric Lauer in relief. He seems like the one most obvious long man who could go. Yankees strong favorites here now to send the series back to Toronto, force a Game 5 where we could see Trey Yesevich, Kevin Gausman. Not sure who the Yankees would have at that point. But Yankees minus 176, Blue Jays plus
should be Max Fried for Game 5.
Max Fried, right.
He got shelled, so we'll see how that goes.
Total of 8.5 here. Again, one of the tied with Mariners Tigers. We got the high totals in the AL. Sean, it's an interesting game to project because Blue Jays pitch usage is so up in the air, but I imagine you have some thoughts on our boy Schlitter.
Yeah, how is Cam Schlitter not like the contrarian play of the year?
Yeah.
On his unders tonight, right? Like who isn't betting his overs after watching that last start? Me, I'm not. The Jays actually handled him quite well this year, and obviously this is a much different matchup against Toronto than it was against the Red Sox, who do strike out more, not as potent offensively. But Toronto, across 2 different starts this year, I think held him to 1 strikeout and 4 strikeouts. They got him out of there pretty early in one of the starts. They make a lot of contact, and they're going to do their best to frustrate him tonight and avoid the strikeout. That will be their whole game plan, is put the ball in play, avoid the strikeout. And also, it's still an elimination game for the Yankees. So if he does get into trouble, Boone doesn't really have an option. He kind of has to get him out of there if he has runners on base in the 5th inning. So even though he was able to push him, in game 3 against Boston and just let him keep going. And if anything, pregame, I would have bet his unders in that start. I passed because I liked both him and early, and I had the under, and it was like, I think these dudes could cook tonight, and they did, which was beautiful. But tonight, after he performed so well, under 5.5 strikeouts to about minus 185, under 14.5 outs to about minus 125, I think have to be the sides of Cam Schlitter. Already gotten a little bit of juice moving in our direction. I certainly think the Yankees win this game. I certainly think he has a lead and maybe he can go a little bit deeper. But the Yankees, they just can't mess around tonight. So hopefully Toronto can keep it close and force Boone's hand to get him out of the game. In terms of Toronto's pitching usage tonight, I don't know what they do. Louis Varland has already pitched 3 times in this series. He's going to make his 4th appearance in 4 games starting. So does he immediately fall behind? It's very possible. The Yankees have just seen this bullpen a bunch at this point. Never mind the fact that every arm except for Yariel Rodriguez and Justin Brule have already thrown twice. They also saw these guys in the regular season too, and they have the book on a lot of them as well. The Yankees, conversely, have a much more well-rested bullpen and the better bullpen to begin with. So normally I'd project about a half a run differential between these bullpens. Tonight, it should be closer to a full run. I make the Yankees right around minus 155. They opened around minus 155, but they got bet up to I saw as high as minus 180 last night. It's back down to minus 170 today. So somebody pushed back on the Blue Jays. I would make Toronto a bet at plus 175 if the Yankees got hit with more steam. I think it'll probably settle around Yankees minus 170 where it is. So no bet on the side or total. I also make the total, I believe, around 8.2. So no bet on the total. I'd be interested in a live over here. Like I'm interested in a live over on the Tigers game, particularly if the Blue Jays fall behind 3-0, 4-0, 4-1. And we're through 5 innings and you can get an 8.5 through 5 and it's already 4-1. It's back to the pregame number through 5. That's the point at which I think the runs start coming in, because then you get the Jays' worst pitchers trying to finish out this game so that they can save their best pitchers for a potential, or for at that point in game 5. So live over here. Pregame under 9, minus 125 if it pops up. Different sides of it depending on the inflection point of the game. I would love to have a pregame under 9 and then try to find a live over 7. But the Schlitter unders are definitely the best bets on this game. And then a live over 7 if it pops up would be a bet for me as well.
If Varland opened once this year, right at the end of the regular season, actually, against Boston, he threw 2 shutout innings with 3 strikeouts.
I doubt he had thrown the 3 previous.
Exactly.
Games, though, going
What I was going to say, I didn't have this in our doc, but when you were talking about the Varland uncertainty and about kind of the Schlitter fade, as I started looking at the Nerfy-Yerfy lines out of curiosity there, and you can get a run to be scored in the first inning at minus 110. And you can go over 1.5 first inning runs at plus 225. So that intrigued me a little bit. I don't know if I'd necessarily pull the trigger on them, but considering how hot the top of the Toronto order has been, and considering what the top of the Yankees lineup can obviously do with all the firepower there going against Louis Varland.
He was the one who gave up the homer to Judge last night.
Exactly.
As well, so.
Exactly.
Yep.
So a lot of potential there. I only have one hitter prop in this one, or one hitter that I'm betting props on. I will say, just to support your point on the Schlitter zag, if you will, the Blue Jays have had success against him, like you said. They grade out really well against Schlitter's primary offerings. He throws his four-seamer 54% of the time. He's a fastball heavy guy. Every single one of the Blue Jays projected lineup grades out above average against the four-seamer, except for Addison Barger, Dalton Varsho, and Anthony Santander. Those three hitters are three of only four hitters in the Toronto lineup that grade out well against Schlitter's second best used pitch, the cutter, another variation of the fastball. So Barger, Varsho, Santander, and then Ernie Clement are great cutter hitters. Clement is the only one who grades out above average against both the four-seamer and cutter. So Ernie Clement is the guy I'm targeting in this game. He's
been on fire too.
Yes, no Yankees hitter props with the pitching usage uncertainty there in New York. But you can get Clement 2+ bases at plus 210. Get Clement to run into one, hit a homer at plus 1250. So like Clement tonight, and that makes our SGP here pretty easy. Relatively low stakes here. We go the unders on Schlitter, 14.5 outs, 5.5 strikeouts. Clement 2+ bases, that's plus 470 at
I like that one.
DraftKings.
He's 7 for his last 8, Ernie Clement, been absolutely on fire. So,
and generally when that happens, that's when you want to zag and like fade a guy, right? Because they're not going to stay hot forever. But I take out all the noise and all the previous results, and I just look at what his matchup is today, and I think that he's got a pretty decent shot to stay hot.
He struck out one time September 16th.
Insane. That's some Blue Jays magic right there. All right, last game of the night. Phillies, Dodgers. Dodgers trying to close things out. Phillies starting, their old standby. They have no Zach Wheeler this series, but they do have Aaron Nola, or what's left of Aaron Nola's right arm. Looked a little better down the stretch this season. Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound for the Dodgers. Dodgers minus 187 to close things out. Phillies plus 152. We have a total of 7.5 in Los Angeles tonight. Sean, where are you going with this one?
Aaron Nola under outs, Yoshinobu Yamamoto over outs, and under hits, under 4.5 hits, all in the same price range. Or for Yamamoto, both of his props in the same price range, and then under 8 to minus 120. So I do like the run scoring to get suppressed here tonight by the fact that the Phillies have to throw the balls to the wall in an elimination game, not a likely elimination game. Nola, based on comments from Rob Thompson yesterday and Ranger Suarez, ideally, he said gets them through 6 innings. So to me, that means Nola may not face Ohtani a second time because Ranger Suarez is good to go for 5. So why are you leaving in Nola to face the lefties a second time? Now, Nola this year was actually quite unlucky. His ERA was over 6. His expected ERA was 4.2. His expected FIP was 3.8. He had some strand rate luck, or poor strand rate luck. He had some poor home run to fly ball luck. But he remains, clearly a reduced version of what he was previously. This is not peak Aaron Nola anymore. He also dealt with some injury issues this year. But I think the trust is almost gone. And the reason they're starting him instead of starting Suarez is purely the fact that Nola has never pitched out of the bullpen, and Ranger has. So you may as well get your innings out of Nola while you can, get an inning or two from him, pitch into the third, and when that top of the order comes up, he's out. So Nola under 8.5 outs at plus money. I think that should be a pick'em. I'm fine with that down to plus 105, even money. As long as he gives up 1 hit or 1 walk and does not face the minimum through 3, I don't think he completes 3 innings. I think Ranger Suarez comes in to face Ohtani and then Freeman a second time. So under 8.5 outs for Nola. You could mess around with the strikeouts. I've said in the past, when these guys know they're going 3 innings, they could air it out just a little bit more. You may see a reliever version of Aaron Nola tonight throwing a tick harder because he knows he can air it out and doesn't have to go 18 batters. So under 8.5 outs for Nola, over 17.5 outs for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I like that up to minus 185. I also like his under 4.5 hits to minus 185 as well. Up 2-0 in the series. Dodgers have massive trust in Yamamoto. I discussed the pitch count. Last year, they gave him about 81 pitches per start in the regular season, 70.5 in the playoffs. His last 5 starts this season, including his playoff start, 103.6. He's going an extra 20 to 30 pitches relative to this point of last season. He's going to get through 6 innings as long as he does not get hit hard. He's become one of my favorite pitchers to watch, too. Just so smooth with it. And anytime he does give up early runs, I just know he's not giving up anything over the remainder of that start. He is gettable in the first inning, and then after that, his time through the order splits just seem to get better and better. So Yamamoto has really become one of my favorite pitchers to watch. I think he's one of the most reliable guys out there in terms of giving you an honest effort and a good effort every time out. 17.5 hits or 17.5 outs over, not 17.5 hits. That would be quite a number of hits. 4.5 hits under, both to around minus 185 for Yamamoto. And then the under 8 to minus 120, considering we're not going to get any Phillies pitchers left in to get roughed up tonight. Maybe Yama, is the one who blows up if this game does go over, but under 8 to minus 115. And that one is trending towards 7.5 as well. So I would definitely jump on that one before it gets down to 7.5. You could take 7.5 at plus money. I would just prefer the 8 at minus 120.
Yeah, to your point about Yamamoto, that first start against the Reds in the wild card series, I believe we had the outs over on that one as well, and it seemed like it was toast in the 6th inning. He gave up 3 straight singles to start the 6th inning. I think he was at like 80 something pitches too, and I was like, well, it's done. Roberts can pull him. Not only did Roberts leave him in the game, he got out of the inning without allowing a run, but he came back out and started the 7th inning too, which I couldn't believe. And then he got a ground out, a walk, a strikeout, and a walk. So he faced 4 more batters in the 7th inning before he finally got pulled for Blake Treinen of all.
Yeah, I think if I had to rank starters that Roberts trusts, I think Yama might be number 1.
Oh, right now he's over Snell.
I think so.
Ohtani, obviously, limited.
Like Snell started game 1. I think they consider him their highest upside pitcher, probably. Yes. But Yama is their most reliable.
He's the guy. They're going to let him pitch out of trouble more than they're going to let any other pitcher pitch out of trouble. I've got a couple of fun ones here in the props department. I'll start on the Dodgers side. One thing that does give me a little bit pause on Max Muncy props is the fact that he might end up facing Ranger Suarez 2, maybe even 3 times, probably twice. He'll get Nola in the first inning. So I really focused on his matchup against Nola. Any other right-handers he might face.
He's good against lefties too, Muncy.
Yeah,
Muncy's fine against lefties.
Yeah, but Muncy, so Nola's offerings are his 4-seamer, his knuckle curve are his top 2. He goes sinker, changeup as his other pitches that he throws more than 10% of the time. Muncy crushes 4-seamers. He crushes sinkers and changeups as well. So it's really the knuckle curve is what Nola will need to use against him, and that's not a pitch you can conceivably throw all at bat. So I like Muncy here to hit a home run, plus 450, 2+ bases, plus 170. And we hit on this a week. I don't remember if it was the Red Series or earlier in this series. I'll bet on him to take a walk as well, especially if he ends up facing lefties. He's a guy who walks a lot. So if I bet Muncy home run, bases, and walk, you don't realistically think you're going to hit all 3 bets, but they're all plus money. Muncy walk is kind of a little bit of a hedge on, we're not hitting our bases here, but because he's walking essentially, and that's plus 140. So I like that as well. And in terms of the Yamamoto matchup, and this is a credit to Yamamoto, like you just said, there's not a lot of huge matchups for the Phillies hitters that look positive from the hitter perspective. The one that really stood out was Trey Turner. They all hit the 4-seamer. No one really hits the splitter or curveball. But then the final 3 offerings in Yamamoto's repertoire, his cutter, his sinker, his slider of 2.8% of the time, but his cutter and sinker, Turner grades out well against all of those. So Trey Turner home run, plus 670, Trey Turner 2+ bases, plus 155. And I'll throw in a bonus, and we'll add this to our SGP for fun. We saw Turner get off to the races last game, steal a base. We can get Trey Turner to steal a base at plus 550. I think there's really good value in that, especially if it's close, the Phillies may be trailing late. They get desperate. Trey Turner, their best possible hitter to steal a base. So throw in Trey Turner to steal a base at plus 550 as well. And this is the SGP. Sean, I know when I ask you what your favorite SGP is, you're not going to pick this one because I just want to have a little fun with one of these. We'll go with your 2 pitcher props, Yamamoto over 17.5 outs, Nola under 8.5 outs, and then we'll throw in Max Muncy to go deep, Trey Turner to steal a base. That's 110-1 over at DraftKings. A little couch change on a fun little SGP here. So
I would almost prefer the Trey homer in there instead of the Trey stolen base. I mean, I'm not going to shake up your same game parlay. I do want to point it out though, because it's something I've pointed out in the past. Yamamoto in his career has allowed 11 of his 20 home runs the first time through the order, 6 second time through, 3 third time through. I'm trying to find the home run per 9 rate, but in the first inning, he gives them up for whatever reason. I don't know if he's just trying to get through the first time through the order more with fastballs, and then he starts to mix in his breaking pitches more. But the Trey Turner home run prop, in a Yamamoto start, that could happen on the first pitch of the game. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So yeah, Turner home run to hit a home run tonight. The moment you said it, I was like, in a Yamamoto start, it aligns perfectly. He loves giving up leadoff home runs in home starts. So yeah, Turner to take the first pitch of the night deep, or at least the first AB of the night deep, I think is actually like a distinct possibility.
All right, you know what? Let's do it. I like you give them out, and if we go with home run in that SGP instead of stolen bases, it bumps it up to 120-1. So we will do that.
I look forward to him not homering and stealing a base.
Right.
My analysis being the reason why that doesn't cash. So if you're betting it, maybe bet it a little bit both ways, just so you don't have me to blame completely when he steals a base but doesn't homer.
There you go. And also over at DraftKings, Trey Turner first plate appearance, exact result, home run, 25-1.
That's the move. I'd rather bet that than the homer for the whole game. Bet it for the first PA.
There you go. And then pivot to the stolen base if he doesn't home run.
Yeah, live stolen base prop. I don't know if anybody offers.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, after he has one AB down.
I'm not sure, but they should. They have everything else.
The last thing I want to mention before we jump off of here, just to reiterate Dodgers futures value right now. Current projections for the Dodgers, and I mentioned this yesterday, but it's worth reiterating. Their current projections for the pennant are between minus 166 and minus 212. I saw as low as minus 150 last night for them to win the NL pennant. We're assuming they're going to end up facing the Brewers in the NLCS, and I'm assuming based on those lines that they will be north of minus 200 in that series, even though they will be starting that series on the road. I think it'll be at least minus 185 and 65% implied or so, if not pushing closer to minus 200. So there's not as much value on their pennant odds as there is on their World Series odds right now. Their World Series odds projected between plus 108 and plus 160. You can get as high right now still as plus 160, which is about double the edge as you can get on their NL pennant odds at present. It's closer to a 4% edge. Their pennant odds, you can get like a 2% edge. So Dodgers World Series still to about plus 145 before game 3, with the caveat that if they lose game 3, which they are favored as much as they will be favored in any game throughout the remainder of this playoffs, if they lose game 3, happy to jump in again with another bet probably on their World Series or pennant odds at that point. But plus 145, the price target for Dodgers World Series right now.
All right. Sean, I think we just gave out 33 bets on these 4 games. So
quite many.
People are not lacking for options. Hopefully we can hit a few. A lot of plus money stuff out there. So let's have some fun. Last 4-game slate of the series. We got 2 games or fewer from here on out. Let's have some fun, enjoy some baseball all day. That'll do it for today's episode of Payoff Pitch. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to tail some of these 33 bets from today's episode, look for the quick slip links in the episode description or visit actionnetwork.com/bet now. Please do, because our producers, David and Eddie, are rolling their eyes so hard at all the quick slip links they had to grab for this episode. And so go ahead and click on them to enjoy those bets. Also, don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app. And also, please leave us that 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to the podcast. And as a reminder to please check out our new AI Quick Slip bot on X. All you have to do is tag Playbook at Playbook Tell it to grab whatever bet you're looking for. It'll create a quick slip link for you in a matter of seconds. If there is baseball tomorrow, we will be back with another episode of Payoff Pitch and more MLB playoff best bets. If not, we will be back whenever there are games again. For Sean Zerillo, I'm Collin Whitchurch. Thanks for listening to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast, and good luck with all your bets.